very much. And Carlos sends a screaming kick on the left side into the Boston College zone of play, and it goes out of bounds over the touchline, and Mike Byrne will be taking a throw-in on that far sideline. As we can see in the distance, the UConn Husky football team warming up for their home season opener as they're playing over in the practice field. Right now, Carlos controlling the ball for the Huskies. He's still in BC territory. Pass over to DeBrito. A lob in the middle, and coming out to make the save will be the goalie, Gordy Farkow. And Farkow, playing in the first half, only had 2 assists and allowed 3 goals. And he had his problems with his defense, a little bit of communication. Now Farkow sends a kick right around midfield, and controlling it will be the Connecticut Huskies. Eric Myron has it, but he's pushed from behind. It's controlled by Boston College, and now with it is Jay Hutchins. Hutchins sends it into the Connecticut zone, where it's picked up by Tim Maisley of the Connecticut Huskies. Maisley scoring the first goal of the game at the 19-minute, 3-second mark, and his first goal of the season, put Connecticut up 1-0. Right now it's 3-0. But the ball goes out of bounds, and the Eagles will have a throw-in. And taking it will be, I believe, number 5, John Carroll. He sends it in to the middle of the field, but it goes past everybody and everything. Last touched by Connecticut, and it will be a Boston College corner kick as one Husky got a foot on it and knocked it over the goal line. So BC will have their first corner kick of the afternoon from the far corner. We cannot see who it is. I believe it's Mike Byrne. He sends a low liner in front of the goalie, headed away by Charlie McSpear, kicked into the goal. Or just over the goal, by number 5, John Carroll. So it looked like it was a goal from here on this angle, but it was over the goal. And Connecticut will have, that's why it was no goal. It was a handball call right in the middle, and Connecticut will have a direct kick. And that's where we stand. So we'll just go over that one more time. BC with a handball and a shot into the goal. But no goal will be scored as Connecticut controls it with 43 minutes and 5 seconds to go in the contest. They have a very comfortable 3-0 lead. BC's ball, Gomez controlling it. Pass up front for Peter Dorfman is stolen by the Huskies. BC has not really heard much from Dorfman, who led their team in scoring with 10 goals and 2 assists last season. This year, Dorfman has not done much at all. He has only scored 1 goal in 3 contests. Controlling the ball, Hutchinson. He's in BC territory. He knocks it into the Connecticut zone where Paulie make that Jimmy Lyman comes up, and a Lyman pass over to Graziano Cornolo, and Cornolo inputs the ball on the right side to Pedro DeBrito. DeBrito trying to get around Lou Giovannoni. Vanoni, one of the top defenders, man-to-man for anyone on the BC team. DeBrito goes past him very easily, but can't get past Rich Pena, and BC comes up with the ball. BC loses it momentarily. Tim Maisley comes up with it. The Huskies still control it in the BC zone, and Maisley passes it out to Eddie Lynch. And Connecticut's offense will try to get something going. Lynch back passes it over to Charlie McSpirit. McSpirit up to Carlos, but Carlos pushed from behind by Mike Byrne, and he's going to get called for it. And the Huskies will have a direct kick about 10 yards out of the penalty area. So Connecticut getting ready to set up a direct kick, which could be a golden opportunity to a score. And there's going to be a one-man wall about 8 yards back, and the Huskies getting marked man-to-man with every single one of the players as they're all standing right around the penalty area line. And Charlie McSpirit getting set to make that play as he puts it on the right side, a whistle on the play. Let's see what they're going to call. They're going to call a timeout, and they're going to give a yellow card, I believe, to one of the players. Let's see who the yellow card's going to go to, at least maybe a warning. He's reaching into his pocket. Carlos is being talked to, as well as a Boston College player. And I believe there might have been a push and shove behind the lines. Let's see what's going to happen. I believe it's Carlos along with So yellow card to John Carroll. Number 6, they're saying now. It is Mike Byrne. So let me stand corrected one more time. It's Mike Byrne. As he gets his yellow card, McSpirit sends a chipper in front, headed up by, I believe, D'Arsanio. It falls on the ground and is knocked away and cleared nicely by the Boston College defense. It's still in the zone of the Boston College Eagles, and Connecticut's controlling. This is Jimmy Lyman sending it in front to Graziano Cornolo. Sends a shot, but it's a nice save by Farkow. And Cornolo really didn't get all of his foot in there. We might have seen the 4th goal, but Cornolo is seeming to be goal hungry, as it's just him really staying around the mouth of that goal, trying to put the ball in the net. Now Farkow sends a kick around midfield. It's gathered in by Peter Dorfman. Dorfman controlling the ball, gives it over to Mike Byrne. Byrne sends it into Connecticut territory, but there's not one BC player there. And Jimmy Lyman comes up with the ball. 30 minutes and 56 seconds to go in the contest. The Huskies have control of this ball game. It's 3-0 in favor of the Connecticut White, as they're wearing their white long-sleeve shirts with their blue shorts. Right now it's Jay Hutchins with the ball for BC. He tries to pass it back to teammate Kevin Hutchinson, And Hutchinson finally gets control of the ball after two other players collide, and Hutchinson passes it up on the right side. A foot race for the ball is John Farrow and Tim Maisley. Maisley had the ball momentarily, but Farrow comes back at it as Maisley was cut down in the play, and Farrow is speeding across midfield and goes into the Connecticut zone. Farrow pass back to teammate Jay Hutchinson, almost has the ball stolen. Now does have the ball stolen by Carlos, who brings the ball towards the other way. Carlos on a pass to Jimmy Lyman, but Lyman can't get his foot on it, and Boston College steals it right back in, and the play is now centering around the midfield area as no one is really controlling it for more than 2 or 3 passes at a time. This is Tony Gomez deep in Connecticut territory, man-to-man guarded by Carlos. He's trying to apply some footwork to get around Carlos. Can't do so. Whistle on the play as Carlos knocks the ball over the goal line, and it'll be a corner kick for Boston College. Romeo checks into the game for Graziano Cornolo. And we see a lot more press coverage of the Connecticut soccer team. When you have the number 1 team in the country, a lot more press corps come up to the game as we see Channel 8 Action News doing a little bit of filming. Channel 3 was here as well as Channel 30. And it looks like corner kick for Mike Byrne, a lob in front of the goal, a header by number 18, Rich Pena, but he doesn't get all of it on, and it just chips away from the side of his head, really, and the ball comes to Charlie McSpirit. They're still deep in the BC zone. McSpirit gets over to Brubaker. Brubaker back to McSpirit. McSpirit starting to head upfield. McSpirit between 2 BC players sends a pass up front, but it's stolen by Jay Hutchins. Hutchins kicks it right back to McSpirit. McSpirit again hits Hutchins on the leg, but Hutchins' pass this time comes back to Tim Maisley, and Connecticut controlling the ball. Eric Meyer on the left side of the field, trying to save it before it goes over the touchline, but apparently he does not do so as there's a whistle on the play and a Boston College throw-in by Kevin Hutchinson. Hutchinson being guarded man-to-man by Jim Dorsanio. Hutchinson does get the throw-in to Peter Dorfman, who heads it over to teammate Keith Brown, but Brown does not get it as Charlie McSpirit intervenes between the two, and he steals the ball. McSpirit over to 13, Eddie Lynch. Eddie Lynch over to Elio Romeo, but Romeo is tripped up on the play as Rich Pena, going for a sliding tackle, got more of Romeo than he did of the ball, and so it's going to be a dangerous play called, and Connecticut Huskies have a direct kick. This time it's McSpirit on the pass right side to Carlos, but Carlos gets pushed, and the ball goes out of bounds, and McSpirit gets a throw-in along the near touchline. McSpirit gets the ball back from Carlos. Carlos going towards the right goal line, kicked out of bounds by Peter Dorfman. We'll see the whistle, and the ball is going to be we're waiting for the call. I believe it's going to be a direct kick on a foul.
Boston College push.
It's a push called on Boston College, and Connecticut will have the ball about 10 or 15 yards outside the penalty area on the right side with Pedro DeBrito making the direct kick. There's a 2-man wall. It's Peter Dorfman along with Lou Giovannoni. And the Huskies getting ready to set up. Here's the line shot in front of Brubaker slipping on the play. The ball is loose in front. Coming up with it is Eric Byron, but it's cleared nicely by the Boston College defense. Kept in by Timmy Maisley. And the ball again is loose in front of the penalty area. This is Eddie Lynch. Lynch over to Byron, but the ball is stolen by Hutchinson. Stolen back by Romeo. A nice move by one player. He tries to chip it in, but knocked away by John Carroll. He goes over the goal line, and the Huskies will come up with their first corner kick of the afternoon.
An observation on that play, Harold. Farkow in the goal should have been on the back post instead of the middle of the net, because 15 yards out, that way it's much easier in the rain to go forward than backwards. However, he stood his ground in the middle of the net.
Carlos with the corner kick. He lobs it in front. The header apparently trying to go to Romeo, but he can't get it. Myron settles the ball on the right side. He gets around one player, trying to kick it in front, but it's knocked away by Keith Brown. Controlled by Tim Maisley. Maisley, the chipper in front, headed away this time by Tony Gomez. It goes over the goal line, and the Huskies will have another corner kick, this time on the right side. And they are applying the pressure, trying to get maybe a 4 or 5 goal lead before they can bring in all of their substitutions. Tim Maisley gets the ball, the corner kick, shot on goal, wide to the left, but it's headed up and kept in play by Rosanio, but by Brubaker, shot into the goal, but not knocked away nicely by the goalie, loose in front and cleared by Boston College. The Huskies still controlling the ball as McSpirit sends it back into the penalty area. This is Elio Romeo. He heads it up. Bicycle kicks it across, but a save by the goalie, Gordy Farkow, and Boston College will try to slow things up and start on the offense themselves.
Farkow was out of the net on that play, and Byrne, the defensive fullback, had to make the play to save that one off his foot. A nice play and saved a sure goal by the Huskies.
Push by the Huskies, and the Boston College will have a direct kick, but it seems like that was a wrong call, and there's going to be a throw-in instead. So scratch that foul, and taking the throw-in was John Carroll. BC controlling the ball, this time in Husky territory, right at the edge. A whistle on the play, and they're going to call something against Boston College. I believe it's going to be a throw-in as the ball went over the touchline, and Lyman gets it into Eric Myron. 35 minutes and 30 seconds remaining here in the contest. It's Connecticut 3, Boston College nothing on 3 first-half goals, one by Tim Maisley, one by Graziano Cornolo, and one by Jimmy Lyman. Lyman and Maisley connecting on their first goals of the season. Cornolo's third. He is now atop of the list of the Connecticut players for points, as he has 3 goals and 1 assist for 7 points. Following him would be Elvis Comrie with 5 points, along with Pedro DeBrito with 5 points. So the Huskies really getting the ball in the net. They scored 4, 3, 3, and 3 today. So they're trying to break their record of 95 goals in one season, and they're well on their way to it with 13 goals in not even 4 games. Connecticut will have a goal kick as Boston College sends everything over the crossbar. And Charlie McSpirit will be taking it as the clock's running down with 34 minutes and 39 seconds. And we hate to get on the color commentary more than the game, but right now there's not much action taking place around the goal areas.
Harold, we were talking about UConn scoring. Boston College hasn't seen too many balls of their own going in the net. They were shut out by Indiana and Vermont, and they scored 2 goals against Adelphi. UCLA, that is, in 3 versus Adelphi. So they put 5 in the net, and so there's not all that many scoring statistics in their scoring brackets.
But a very impressive win over UCLA, which is ranked number 6 in the country. That's the only blemish on UCLA's record. UCLA stands at 3-1. Boston College did not have a win at the time. Right now, BC deep in Connecticut territory. It's Peter Dorfman making a move, passing it out to Keith Brown. Brown on the right side looking for Mike Byrne. Byrne in the foot race between the ball and the touchline. He does not win the race, and the Huskies will have the throw-in.
We're going down the scoring for Boston College. Their big scorer is Paul Connors. He has 2 goals for 4 points. John Farrell has a goal and an assist for 3 points. Peter Dorfman and Tony Gomez each have 1 goal. And Mike Byrne has 1 assist for 1 point. So altogether, these guys have scored only 5 goals. So Boston College has been dismal, and it looks like right now they're going to go to 2-3.
And right there, the Huskies were on a break, but a little offsides violation gives a Boston College indirect kick, and they send the ball deep into the Husky territory. But there's nobody there, and it goes over the touchline, and the Huskies will have a throw-in, and Tim Maisley takes it. Myron controlling the ball, gets it over to Carlos. Carlos goes over the midfield line and passes the ball on the right side for a speeding Eddie Lynch. Lynch coming down to the right side. He's being guarded by 2 players. One of them is Keith Brown. He's trying to get around Brown. Passing the right side to Romeo. Romeo guarded by Rich Pena, having some problems with him as Pena sends the ball over the touchline. And the Huskies will have a throw-in right near the right corner of Gardner-Dow Field. So let's see if the Huskies can put the ball in net one more time. 32 minutes, 42 seconds to go in the game. Romeo takes the throw, and again he is stripped of the ball as he gets it on the give and go by Rich Pena. And another throw, and this time will be Carlos. Carlos gets the ball out to Charlie McSpirit. McSpirit being guarded by Tony Gomez. Gets the ball over to Jimmy Lyman. Give and go back to Charlie McSpirit. McSpirit gets it back to Lyman, who heads it over to Romeo, but it's cleared around by Johnny Carroll. Carroll gets the ball over to teammate Peter Dorfman, who can't control it, and Lyman comes up with it. Lyman sends the ball in. Knocked away by John Carroll all the way to the right side of the field, and Eric Myron comes up with it around the midfield line. Myron on a pass to Dorsano. Does not connect, but coming up with is Pedro DeBrito. DeBrito trying to get away from one BC player. Can't do so. Goes over the touchline. Huskies have the ball on the throw-in. This is Jim Dorsano controlling the ball, trying to get around one player. He does so. Sends a shot into the goal mouth, but a nice save by Gordy Farkow. As it wasn't too much of a shot. It was just a line shot on the ground. Not too hard, not too light, and Farkow came up with the save.
2 players for the UConn Huskies getting set to check back in. Number 9, Gratz Cornolo, a very wet Gratz Cornolo, and number 14, Paul Hunter.
Connecticut controlling the ball. This is Eddie Lynch around midfield. He comes into the BC territory. Lets a pass go over the right side for Tim Maisley. Maisley over to Dorsano. Dorsano getting crashed into by Johnny Farrow as the ball goes over the touchline, and the Huskies will have a throw-in. Dorsano takes a throw-in, gets the ball over to Pedro DeBrito. DeBrito on the right corner sends a chip right in front, but it was over the goal. He tried to get the ball right in front of the goal, but he couldn't do so, and it went over everything as Gordy Farkow went to the near post to try to make the play, but he didn't have to. And the 2 substitutes come into the game for the Connecticut Huskies.
Taking a look at Mr. Farkow, you can tell he's been working down that end of the field. Just looking at him, he has mud all over him. And you look at the other end of the field towards the left, and Tony Pierce is a much cleaner version of a goalie.
Right now, Connecticut takes control of the ball off the Boston College goal kick. This is Charlie McSpirit sending it into the BC zone for Ilio Romeo, but Romeo can't control it, and Bernie Cosia comes up with the ball as BC comes back with it the other way. BC puts it into the Connecticut zone, but Connecticut comes right back with it. This time McSpirit passing over to Jimmy Lyman. Lyman trying to send the ball upfield where it's stolen by Tony Gomez of the Eagles. Gomez gets the ball stolen right back by Jimmy Lyman. This time Lyman running with the ball all the way up the field himself, where he sends up a pass for Pedro DeBrito, which is stolen by John Carroll. Carroll controlling the ball. He's being guarded by 3 Huskies, but gets around all of them as he sends a pass up to Keith Brown. Brown controlling it momentarily, but he loses it, and Charlie McSpirit comes up with it for the Connecticut White. This is Tim Maisley. Maisley on the left side over for Eric Myron. Myron trying to get around Tony Gomez. Does do so as he gets a pass over to Tim Maisley, but Maisley doesn't control it for long as the ball is kicked out of bounds over the touchline. Last touched by the Eagles of Boston College, and Carlos will have the throw-in with 29 minutes and 55 seconds to go here in the first half. Tony Pierce gets the ball. It's the first time he's seen the ball in quite some time here in the second half. He gets it out to Paul Hunter, who quickly gets it over to Charlie McSpirit, the captain of the Huskies, and McSpirit will start up the offense. Pass up front for Graziano Cornolo. A nice play on a pass to Pedro DeBrito, just overshot him by a couple of feet. But Cornolo had the right idea, but BC will have the throw-in right in front of their own bench. And coming up with the header is Bernie Cosia, the freshman out of Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. Cosia heads it into a crowded area, whistle on the play, and we're going to have a push or obstruction make that call on the Connecticut Huskies. An indirect kick for Mike Byrne, the junior from Morristown, New Jersey. Byrne, a pass on the left side over to Cosia. Cosia in a foot race for it with Charlie McSpirit. He wins the race but kicks the ball over the goal line, and the Huskies will have a goal kick with 29 minutes and 7 seconds to go here in the contest.
Harold, you were talking before about upcoming events, as we usually do, but we got to remember, coming up in not too long will be the California trip, and Harold, you'll be going out on that trip. So to Cal Berkeley, that'll be Wednesday, the 9:30. That's the 30th of September. I get it all right. I was going to say the 9th. And then October 2nd, Friday night, San Francisco.
And that game time has been changed. We'll tell you a little bit about that a little bit later on. Right now, Rich Pena gets the ball out of the penalty area, but coming up with his Eric Myron, he sends a hard shot into a Boston College player. The ball is bouncing loose in the air. Coming up with his Carlos. And Carlos loses it, and he is fouled on the play, a whistle, and they're going to call a foul violation, a hold on the Eagles, and the Huskies will have a direct kick. And as we were saying, on that October 2nd game for San Francisco, that was originally scheduled for a 10:25 p.m. start, which would be 7:30 at California time, but it's changed to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. A chip in front by McSpirit, almost headed in by Romeo, but punched out nicely by Farkow, settled down by Tony Gomez, and BC is bringing the ball the other way. Gomez and a pass to Jay Hutchins. Hutchins having some problems, but gets the ball over to teammate Hutchinson, and Hutchinson bringing the ball across midfield on a pass over to number 19, Bernie Cosia. Cosia lets the ball go through for teammate Mike Byrne, and Byrne controlling it. Byrne sends a pass over to Keith Brown. It looks like they're having some not much of a problem controlling the ball as Brown comes all the way down, and he's trying to get around Carlos. Shot in front, kicked away by John Brubacher, and it goes by and through everybody over the touchline. It'll be a throw-in for Boston College.
Getting set to check in, Brian Stevenson, number 18. He's loosening up here on the near sideline as the Eagles have a throw-in on the near sideline. 27-23 left to play in this soccer game.
Throw-in by Mike Byrne. He gets it right into the foot of Keith Brown. Brown being badgered from behind by Hunter. Pass out to Byrne. Shot on goal wide to the left. It'll be a goal kick, and Stevenson will now check into the game, but Boston College really controlling the ball nicely on that last set of plays.
Observation before on Farkow coming out and punching the ball. He's played textbook goalie today. In fact, he hasn't played all that bad. You say he let up 3 goals, but I would say, Harold, that probably it was the defense more than Farkow himself.
And the defense is supposedly coming back with experience with 2 captains, John Carroll and Mike Byrne, and Lou Giovannoni, who would be the possible sweeper this year. All of them coming back playing defense, but they've been having their problems, especially with this potent Husky offense. You got to remember, even though Elvis Comrie's not there, you have Pedro DeBrito, you have Graziano Cornolo, and Jim Dorsanio isn't any bit of a player not to be reckoned with. Right now, BC having problems controlling the ball in the Connecticut zone. Almost stolen by DeBrito. Now stolen by Jim Lyman, but a trip on the play, and the Huskies will have a direct kick about 3 feet right outside of the penalty area in the Boston College zone. Here's a shot on goal gathered in by Gordy Farkow as the Huskies tried to get the ball in play a little bit too quickly. Farkow holding the ball right in front of Ilio Romeo, and he now sends a blast over the midfield line. It's headed into the BC zone by Charlie McSpirit. McSpirit heads the ball right to the foot of John Carroll. Carroll on a pass over to teammate Rich Pena. make that number 19, Bernie Cosia. But Cosia is held from behind by Jimmy Lyman. And BC will have a direct kick as Mike Byrne will take it with Carlos about 4 or 5 feet away from Mike Byrne. And Byrne sends a lobber in front on the right side for teammate Keith Brown, but it's kicked away and headed away. Make that by Tim Maisley. Maisley on a pass over to Elio Romeo, and Romeo's bringing the ball upfield. Romeo trying to get around Hutchinson. He does so. Pass on the right side to Graziano Cornolo. Cornolo leaves it for Paul Hunter. Hunter pass on the right side to DeBrito. DeBrito's almost all alone. DeBrito versus Giovannoni in the penalty area. DeBrito sends it up front. Pass to Cornolo. Shot knocked away nicely by a defender. I believe it was Kevin Hutchinson. The ball goes over the goal line, and Connecticut will have a corner kick, but the Huskies look like they were playing against a freshman team in high school on that set of plays.
Good call on that one, Harold. It was Kevin Hutchinson, number 3, and if it wasn't for him, the Huskies would have scored number 4.
DeBrito on the corner kick, lobber in front. This time it's nice save by Gordy Farcal as he came out of the goalie to catch the ball, and he quickly outlets it to his teammate Tony Gomez, and Gomez trying to bring the ball the other way, but it's stolen. This time by the Huskies, Tom Thompson, who's just checked into the game. Huskies coming up with the ball. This time it's Stevenson with it. He's having some problems from behind by Rich Pena, and there's going to be a push call, and the Huskies will have control of the ball on a direct kick.
And now all 11 Huskies are in the offensive zone.
And that could cause poor transition, but Boston College really not showing much on the offensive side. Carlos sending in a direct kick into the penalty area, knocked away nicely by John Carroll over to his teammate Tony Gomez, and quickly the Huskies are retreating. Gomez streaking up the field, passing the left side over for Keith Brown, but Brown is not even anywhere near as being next to the ball, and Charlie McSpirit comes up with it. McSpirit passed to Lyman. Lyman going for DeBrito, has the ball knocked away by Bernie Cosia, and that throw-in for Lyman right in front of the Boston College bench. Lyman gets the ball to DeBrito. DeBrito sends it back to Lyman. Lyman goes around one player. That's Keith Brown. Now sending a ball into the middle where it's stolen by John Carroll. Make that number 6, Mike Byrne. Byrne has the ball stolen from him from Cornolo. Cornolo trying to get a pass to Carlos. Carlos can't do so as it's cleared over the goal line by Rich Pena, and the Huskies will have their 3rd corner kick in succession.
Checking in for the Huskies, number 16, Bob LeMay. Coming out, number 2, Timmy Maisley.
And if those substitutions didn't come in very quickly, the Huskies would have tried to get that corner kick in play. But Carlos and Graziano Cornolo are in the corner. Carlos gets it over to, no, it's not Cornolo, it's another Husky player. We can't see his number, but the play was squelched as Boston College made a nice play on defense. Huskies still controlling the ball, but they did not have the good field position as they did have before. This is Bob LeMay around the midfield circle. Passes it over to Charlie McSpirit. 23 minutes, 11 seconds to go here in the game. Huskies with a comfortable 3-0 lead here at Gardner-Dow. This is Harold Darak along with Mark Boudreau, and our engineer back at the studio, Jeff Dobak, playing technical director. You can hear Jeff and Tony Savino every Saturday afternoon when the Huskies play their UConn football games, except for the last game of the season when the Huskies will be playing at Delaware on Friday. And right now, Graziano Cornolo got pushed down pretty heavily, and whistle calling a timeout. Cornolo is limping away from the play, and I believe he's going to talk to Cornolo and the player, who was Bernie Cosia, on the pushing call, and he's getting out his book. I believe he's going to give a yellow card to somebody. Let's see who it'll be.
I believe Mr. Cornolo will be a victim of one of those yellow cards as it comes out of the old sock, and the referee has a few words. Sullivan, number 16, Eddie Capobianco, and number 12, Paul Connors for Boston College as the Huskies get set for a corner kick. Carlos will take it with 19:17 left to play.
Carlos from the right side getting ready to set up for that corner kick. Whistle on the whistle, so the ball is now in play. A lobber in front, and it's punched away nicely by Farcal again, who's getting a lot of action back there in the BC net. And he punches it all the way out to Charlie McSpirit in midfield. McSpirit chips it back in, where it is headed away by Rich Pena of Boston College, headed right to the foot of Bob LeMay. LeMay sends it back into the penalty area. Farcal comes out, makes the easy save. And the BC goalkeeper now controlling the ball as he kicks it out. This time it's going to go to the head of Stevenson, who's going to get called for a push, and BC will come up with the ball.
One category Mr. Farcal will improve on today will be saves, as he has really been gutsy coming out of that net, really not trusting his defense all that much.
With the ball, John Brubacher of the Connecticut Huskies. Brubacher gets the ball stripped away from him by Keith Brown. Brown playing with it in the corners. It goes out of bounds. Matter of fact, that's not Keith Brown. I believe that's number 24, who we do not have a number for.
Number 20, Roger Vernier.
Well, Roger Vernier coming in and checking into the game.
Number 3, Jim Lyman. And into the BC lineup, number 16.
We're going to have a goal kick for the Connecticut Huskies, and taking it will be Tim Maisley. But as we stated a little bit earlier, there is a number 24 in the game that we do not know who it is, and I believe Mark Boudreau will go and check in and see who that is. BC gets called for a push. Connecticut has a direct kick right around the midfield circle. Carlos taking it, sending it in play, but a whistle on the play as we're going to have an offsides violation.
Boston College.
And we just got note that number 24 is a man named Sutherland, and that's all we know about him. We'll check the Boston College program to see if there's anything else about him in there. And BC will have a direct or indirect kick on the offsides call. And they will control the ball. Sending the ball into play is John Carroll. Carroll on the right side loses it as John Brubaker comes up with it. Now the ball is loose. It goes over the touchline, and it'll be a throw-in for Boston College as the Huskies got the last bit of the ball on it. And a few new players getting ready to check into the game. Bob Edwards going to get set to check in. Peter Dorfman, who was on the bench resting for a little while, as well as John Farrell. And we have nothing on Sutherland. We do not know his first name. We do not know where he lives. All we know is he has a number and he has a last name. And that is all we know.
He probably has a first name too, but we don't have it. And nobody in the press box has it.
So why don't we call him the unknown? And right now, Connecticut controlling the ball. They lose it to Boston College. 16 minutes and 33 seconds to go in this game. Coming down with the ball, Kevin Hutchinson going into the penalty area. Coming out to make a save is Tony Pierce. I believe that's his first of the second half. Pierce outlets the ball very quickly to Graziano Cornola. Cornola gets the ball stolen by Sutherland, but a whistle on the play and a push called on Sutherland. And Connecticut will have a direct kick, as Huskies really would love to get on this board, on the scoreboard one or two more times before the game ends.
3 substitutions for Boston College. Number 8, John Farrell. Number 13, Bob Edwards. And number 11, Peter Dorfman gets set to check back in.
For the Huskies, Kieran Coffey is getting set to check in. He played a little bit earlier in the first half, as well as another freshman, Jim Kiernan. So let's not get those two confused. The first name is Kieran Coffey, and number 23, Jim Kiernan. And he's from Potomac, Maryland. And I don't believe he has played at all yet this year. No, matter of fact, let me check that. He has played in one game. Boston College with a direct kick headed off one Connecticut player. They still control it in the Connecticut zone. This is Rich Pena. And Pena gets a foot on it, but it goes over the goal line. And all the substitutions will come in. And Connecticut will have the goal kick.
15:29 left to play, Harold. It's getting very dark, very, very fast. Or as Yogi used to say, it's getting late early. As the overcast skies make it that much quicker.
Number 8, John Farrell.
And the Husky football team is still practicing on the far side, or the far end of the softball field, which leads me to remind the listeners that the UConn football broadcast will be had at 1:25 when the Huskies face the Northeastern Huskies with Tony Savino and Jeff Dobeck. That'll be following the WHUS sports page and precluding the WHUS athletic supporter. I believe I said that right.
Yes.
And right now it's Byrne with the ball for Boston College. He sends a lobber in front where Tony Pierce comes out of the goal to make the save to try to start up the Connecticut offense. As most of these freshmen in here for the Connecticut team, they are having a little bit of difficulties controlling the ball for a long period of time.
For number 20, Roger Vernier.
Right now, Connecticut controlling the ball, 14-24, as they had the last throw-in. And coming up with the ball is Jim Kiernan. Kiernan passing it over to another teammate, which is number 19, Kieran Coffey. Coffey controlling it. He chips it into Cornola. Cornola can't get to the ball, and Rich Pena has it. And as what happens every time new players come in for your own team, you're checking the roster for every single number because you're not really exactly sure who the players are. And with these long-sleeve uniforms, the Huskies do not have their names on the back of these uniforms like they do for their home whites and their short sleeve shirts. This is number 3, Kevin Hutchinson from Boston College, passing on the left side looking for teammate John Farrell, but he overshoots Farrell. The ball sent all the way back to Tony Pierce, the goalie. 13 minutes and 40 seconds to go in this contest. Abrito and Eric Byron getting set to check into the game, as well as Steve Orzel, one of the 3 players from Connecticut. He hails from Guilford, Connecticut for Boston College. This is John Carroll sending it right to the foot of Graziano Cornola. The ball is loose as Paul Connors gets a foot on it and sends it into the Connecticut zone where it's gathered in by Jim Kiernan. And Kiernan sends it back to Charlie McSpirit, who sends it back to Tony Pierce. And Pierce is now being used a lot more lately since he has been having to control the offense from way back in his goalie position. If the Huskies do shut out the Eagles, this would be the first shutout of the year. Jim Renahan is tied right now for the career shutout mark with 19, and he has failed to shut out the first 3 teams, which are very good teams. Stevenson racing for the ball, but he is upended there by John Carroll. The ball goes over the goal line, and the Huskies will have a corner kick. But as I was just saying, Renahan having tough times with two nationally ranked teams, another one who could possibly be just as good as a nationally ranked team. And he did not shut out any one of those 3, but he had problems with his defense. But the Husky offense really just dominating Boston College. And the Huskies having no problems. Here's a corner kick on the far sideline. We cannot see who it is, but it's a chip right in front for Stevenson, but it's headed away by Peter Dorfman. A whistle, and I believe we're going to get a jumping in call on the Huskies.
Charging on Connecticut.
Charging, make that.
Boston College direct.
And that kick was made by, I believe, Tom Thompson. Yes, it was. We cannot see those numbers all the way on this side of the field as it is starting to get a little bit darker. Plus the rain, which is kind of still holding up its own, coming down very lightly. Right now the ball goes out of bounds in front of the Boston College bench, and the Boston College will have a throw-in. Controlling is Eddie Capobianco, but Capobianco loses it to the Huskies, and he gets called for a push. Make that a charge, and the Huskies set the ball on the play. Roger Vernes gets it into Pedro DeBrito, gets a header. DeBrito heads it over to Sean Sullivan. Sullivan can't control it, and it comes up to John Carroll, who should be called for a handball, and is called for a handball. And the Huskies get a direct kick about 5 or 10 yards right outside the penalty area in front of the goal. So DeBrito sets up for it, a 4-man front for Boston College as the Huskies get in on the line. Also, it's number 19, Kieran Coffey gets in the line, and we got number 3, Jimmy Lyman, Pedro DeBrito, and Eric Myron behind the ball. Who will take the direct kick? We will see. 11 minutes, 14 seconds remaining here in the game. Huskies have failed to score in the second half. This is Pedro DeBrito sending a chipper in front for Eric Myron. He gets it off his chest, but loses it. Now gets it back again off the couple BC players, but the save is made by Gordy Farkow as the Huskies try the same play they used versus South Carolina, which almost worked. And it's a really nice one as DeBrito just lobs it over the wall, and a couple Husky players converge on each side and try to either head it or kick it into the goal. We've seen him use it last year with Elvis Comrie and Pedro DeBrito dueling up and playing the parts to put the ball into the net. But it goes by the boards this time. It's still Connecticut 3, Boston College 0 with 10 minutes and 34 seconds to go here in the remainder of the game. This is Kevin Hutchinson for Boston College. Hutchinson sends it back to Nick Carey. Carey just checked into the game. He has run off the ball by Stevenson, but Stevenson's called for a push from behind.
Boston College direct.
And the direct kick for Boston College, and this will be taken by either Kevin Hutchinson or one of his teammates. Now, they're about 2 yards out of the penalty area on the right side, and they have very good chance of scoring. This time, Hutchinson sends it in on the right side. Pass over to his teammate, Peter Dorfman. Dorfman sends it in, but the whole mess of Huskies kick the ball away, and there's 10 minutes left in this contest as BC trying to get on the board to avert a shutout. But Pedro DeBrito controlling the ball for the Connecticut Huskies. DeBrito sends a pass up on the left side for teammate Tom Thompson. Tom Thompson passing it on the left side to Sean Sullivan. Sullivan gets a shot, but it's knocked away by a BC defender. Sullivan over to DeBrito. DeBrito sends a shot. Scotty just goes wide to the right. He gets punched away by Gordy Farkow. And a nice play by DeBrito as he had all the time in the world to set up, and he really blasted that ball towards the goal.
And a nice play by the freshman Sullivan, who slid the pass to DeBrito's right foot to allow him to take that rocket blast to the right of the goal.
And clock running with 9 minutes and 19 seconds.
To
go here in the contest, and getting set to check in the game, Noel Moon from Wilmington, Delaware, and he will be the last of the freshmen to get set to check into the game, as most of the freshmen are in right now. Controlling the ball, Kieran Coffey. Coffey on the left side over to Roger Vernes. Vernes loses the ball as it's blasted out of the area by John Carroll. Whistle on the play and a handball called. This is on, I believe, the Huskies, and so Boston College will have a direct kick, and they'll get to start it up all over again. Starting it up for BC, John Carroll. Carroll on the left side over to teammate Steve Orzel. Orzel getting the pass over to Kevin Hutchinson. Hutchinson back to Orzel. Orzel up in the field for John Farrell. Farrell falls in the play, and Bob LeMay gets it for the Huskies as LeMay corrals it, sends it up for DeBrito. DeBrito can't handle it, and Carroll comes back with it for the BC team as he sends it into the Connecticut zone. It goes all the way to Tony Pierce as there's not any BC offensive players there. And Pierce will start up the offense for the Connecticut White with 8 minutes and 17 seconds to go here in the contest. I'd like to remind you our next broadcast will be Saturday at 11 o'clock, UConn women's soccer. It'll be Ben Palazzo and Pete Cavalier as the Lady Huskies, as a matter of fact, will go against George Washington University. After that, will be followed by the WHUS sports page. It'll be followed by the UConn Husky football game. The Huskies versus the Huskies. Northeastern versus UConn. That game will be starting airtime at 1:25. And Sunday, our first women's field hockey broadcast of the year, Mark Boudreau, along with Brian Navarro. You might have heard of Brian Navarro. He was a former WHUS WHUSy broadcaster. And about 3 or 4 years ago, he's coming back as a community member to do some more broadcasting. This time we'll be debuting on a women's field hockey. That game will be starting at 11 o'clock in the morning, airtime at 10:55 on the Sound Alternative. 7 minutes and 24 seconds remaining in the game as the Huskies with a very comfortable lead. 3-0 over the Boston College team. And Sean Sullivan had the ball for a minute, but BC really collapsed on him and took it. They give the ball over to Tom Thompson. Thompson sent the pass to right side for Eric Byron. Byron racing with it when one BC player, he gets around him, sends a pass up front for Coffey. Coffey, give and go to Myron, does not work, and BC comes away with the ball. But they're still having problems as Myron is badgering them, and it's Eddie Capobianco controlling the ball for a little while as the fans are yelling for an obstruction call. But UConn gets called for the push instead, and BC will have a direct kick deep in their own territory.
Getting set to check in also for Boston College, number 10, Tony Gomez.
Myron with a nice header to set up a play for Sean Sullivan. Sullivan to Thompson to DeBrito. DeBrito slows it up. In the penalty area shot, and it's wide to the right. Oh, it was a good play by the freshman as DeBrito had all the time in the world to set up, but he couldn't put the ball in the net.
Farquhar was out of the net, and he was down on his knees, almost like praying to someone up above, because Pedro DeBrito had that net all to himself and shot it wide to the goalie's left.
And you would never, ever see that. and as a matter of fact, his prayers were answered because DeBrito very rarely misses that net, especially in a wide open shot. The pressure really wasn't on. They had a 3-0 lead, so maybe we could excuse him that he's just too much of a pressure ball player. But 6 minutes exactly to go here in the contest. Connecticut comfortably in front, 3-0. Eric Byron getting the ball is coming up with a slight injury as Kieran Coffey as he was headed in the back. But Coffey is now up and running. And whenever your own team has the ball, you would be up and running, hopefully to get a goal. As that's all the offensive players have on their mind is putting that ball in the net. And right now, Jimmy Lyman will set up the direct kick as he lobs it into the penalty area where it's headed away by a BC player, but not headed far enough. Is coming up with it is Bob LeMay. A whistle on the play, and I believe Connecticut's going to get called for a foul, a handball call.
Boston College
And
direct.
BC will have a direct kick. The clock is running 5 minutes and 14 seconds. And Coach Joe Maroney, you think, would be happy enough to sit down and settle down since his team is up by 3 goals with 5 minutes left. But he's still standing up, yelling instructions to his younger freshmen in the game who are trying to learn the Connecticut way of soccer.
Well, the bench is wet.
Under 5
bench is
You don't want to sit down with those nice pants.
Right now, Connecticut trying to make a move on goal, but it's upended by Mike Byrne as Byrne kicks the ball out of the way. And Stevenson will send the ball as a throw-in as the BC player's kick went over the touchline, and Stevenson has control of it now on the left side. Stevenson around Byrne. He's coming down the left side towards the penalty area. He's going to have at least a chance to set up a play, but he's stripped of the ball by a sliding tackle as John Carroll sends it over the goal line. And the corner kick for the Huskies. And Tom Thompson will set up the corner kick. The Huskies still trying to get in the net one more time. Thompson over to Stevenson. Stevenson back to Thompson on the give and go. He sends it into the penalty area where it's cleared away nicely by Boston College. Right to the foot of teammate number 23, Jim Kiernan. Kiernan on the right side for Eric Byron, but Byron is nowhere near as fast as to get that ball as it goes over the goal line, and there'll be a goal kick for the BC Eagles.
Checking in for the BC Eagles, Rich Pena, number 18, will be in. And he replaces number 20, Steve Orzel, the freshman from Guilford, Connecticut, who checks out and goes over to the bench probably to put on a warm-up jacket.
I'd like to remind you, you're listening to WHUS Storrs, the Sound Alternative, where you can hear all of the UConn Husky soccer action except for 2 games on their schedule. And every single one of the football games, as long as our transmitter holds out. We'd like to remind you that UConn Husky soccer action on Sound Alternative is made possible in part through generous underwriting grants from Subway footlong sandwiches, Holiday Spirits, University Pizza, Nice Child Incorporated Family Fashion Center, the South Windsor Dairy Queen, Ted's Restaurant, Cheese and Things, and the UConn Friends of Soccer. Please go over to them. Tell them how much you enjoy listening to the Connecticut Husky soccer action on the Sound Alternative. They've been nice enough to sponsor us, and we're going to be nice enough to plug them as much as possible. 3 minutes and 19 seconds to go in the contest. And getting up for one last time is Eddie Lynch to get set to check into the game. And also for one last time is Bernie Casilla. That's if the clock doesn't run out before they get in. And there's a lot of yelling on the field as a couple of BC players are surrounding the referees as they're talking over something. A little action here or there. And we'll see if another yellow card will be issued. I do not believe so. The Huskies have a throw-in on the far sideline.
Connecticut throw-in for number 20.
And they're just trying to settle down this game before it gets out of hand in the physical sense. There's only 3 minutes and 19 seconds to go. BC has been out of it since well into the first half after at least a second Connecticut goal and definitely after the third goal. BC really has not scored many goals this whole season. I believe, Mark, you said they only scored 5 goals as a season for 4 games. And a shot on goal, and it goes in as BC puts in their 6th goal of the season right after I just said that they have not shot much at all. Mark, take it.
I believe Paul Connors, number 12, will be credited with that goal. No, it'll be number 5, John Carroll, assisted, I believe, by number 12, Paul Connors. And that came to stun the Huskies in the break. Tony Pierce's shutout. And now Joe Maroney is on the field to argue that the referee should have blown a whistle there. And the Huskies look disheartened. BC's is ecstatic, and it went to the upper right-hand corner of the goal to beat Tony Pierce with 3:12 left in this soccer game. And it looked like a comfortable Husky shutout.
And Joe Maroney is fuming. I did not even see that play as I was concentrating on something else. As soon as I turned around, the ball went into the net. And the Husky crowd, you might be hearing him in the background, not too happy with the call. Maroney should have had an automatic yellow card for walking onto the field, but he is not getting it as he is just being told to go off the field. The Huskies will start up the ball with a kickoff. 3 minutes and 12 seconds to go in this game. And he is just very upset that they lost a shutout. And I'm sure there's some breakdown in communication. Right now, they're still taking their time getting this game to get back underway. Only 3 minutes and 12 seconds left. And the goal was scored by number 6, Mike Byrne. As it was changed again to number 6, Mike Byrne from Carroll. So we'll give it to Mike Byrne on the goal.
Scored by number 6, Mike Byrne.
And we'll see if it was assisted at all. I do not believe it was assisted.
Unassisted.
No, it was not.
86-48. Byrne's first
And
goal
Connecticut
was
sends the ball to the Boston College zone.
48.
As taking it would be number 19, Kieran Coffey. Coffey controlling the ball, gets it over to number 13, Eddie Lynch. Lynch back to Coffey. Coffey over to Tom Thompson. As Thompson sends it back to Coffey. Coffey coming into the penalty area as he is tripped down by number 11, Peter Dorfman. A whistle on the play finally as they're going to call a push on Dorfman. And I believe the Huskies are going to have a direct kick right outside the penalty area on the left side. Clock running 2 minutes. Now the whistle is blown with 2 minutes and 43 seconds left, and I believe we're going to see another yellow card. Let's see what happens.
Harold, on the play earlier on the goal, Boston College throw-in, I believe a whistle hadn't been blown to resume play, and that's what Coach Maroney was so upset about.
Yellow card to Jay Hutchins.
Yellow caution card issued to Boston College's number 11, Peter Dorfman.
No, they're going to give it to Dorfman. And Dorfman and Hutchins were next to each other, but Dorfman will get it, so we'll check that mistake. Dorfman picking up his first yellow card, and I believe the 5th yellow card of the game. Huskies will have a direct kick right outside the penalty area, and taking this one will be number 19, Kieran Coffey. Coffey sends a lobber in front, looking for the header is number 21, Tom Thompson, but another whistle on the play, as they're going to say that the play was not started correctly, and they're going to try to do it one more time all over again. As the clock ticked down to 2:28, and the clock is now running as the referee has not stopped the clock a second time. This time, Kieran Coffey will again take the kick. He's going to try to lob away in front for either Eddie Lynch, Eric Myron, or Tom Thompson. Let's see who they're going to go for. Coffey getting ready for the referee's whistle to start it up, but there still seems to be some discussion on the field between the Boston College players and the referees, and now they're going to stop the clock again. With another official's timeout.
And when 2:43 had shown on the clock, it's now 2:08 as we procrastinate here to the end.
And they're not going to make them reset the clock.
Connecticut direct.
But here comes Coffey's kick, and it's kicked right into Peter Dorfman. Another whistle on the play. We might see Dorfman get another call for jumping in, another card for jumping in too early. I would not be surprised to see his second yellow card. He's getting a lot of, the referee getting a lot of problems with the BC players as they're yelling at the referee, and the referee trying to keep everything set, but Dorfman just got one yellow card. He jumped in a little bit too early. We've seen Elvis get a card on that a little bit earlier in the season. Here goes Jimmy Lyman's direct kick in front, headed by Tom Thompson, but it's knocked away. Settled to the foot of Roger Vernes, but Vernes loses the ball to three Boston College players who blasted out of the offensive zone, right to the foot of Jim Kiernan. Kiernan passed over to Noah Moon. Moon trying to get the ball in play, sends it right up in front for Sean Sullivan. Sullivan, wide over the goal, shot to the left, goes wide, and over the goal line. Sullivan having his first opportunity to score, and he's going to see that one in his dreams.
Oh, Sullivan, I don't think he could believe what he was seeing, as it was one-on-one Sullivan and Farkhoub, and Sullivan shoots it wide to the left.
And there's going to be a goal kick for Boston College. Clock running down, 1 minute and 5 seconds left. BC getting on the board finally at the 41 minute and 48 second mark in the second half. Burns scoring an unassisted goal. It's Connecticut 3 and Boston College 1.
And not too many of the 1,400 UConn faithful have left this place as of yet.
And as we said a little bit earlier, Tony Pierce losing his first shutout of the year. And there seemed to be some taintedness on that loss of the shutout, considering that the referee might not have signaled the ball in play. At least that's what Coach Joe Maroney said. And Boston College did end up getting on the board. 29 seconds left. A header into the penalty area, headed away by Bob LeMay. Eric Myron racing for the ball now with a BC player. Myron trying to blast it out of the area. 21 seconds as they're going to try to put the ball in the net one more time. Myron passing it over to teammate Tom Thompson. Thompson losing the ball. It's cleared away by Rich Pena right to the chest of Eddie Lynch with 13 seconds left. Lynch gets the ball over to number 19, Coffey, but Coffey loses the ball, and BC comes up with it. 6 seconds left. Blasted away by Jimmy Lyman, and that's all she wrote. As that's the final score